Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation on how I approach teaching history. My core belief is simple. Everything has a story. And to get into that, this idea comes from something that my dad told me growing up. At the time, I didn't fully understand what it meant, but as I went through school, I realized that history connects to everything, even science, math, English, because everything we know has a story behind it. From pure observations and just my own core beliefs, one of the biggest problems in history education is memorization. When students are asked to memorize, learning doesn't feel meaningful. When it doesn't feel meaningful, students tend to disengage of getting bored, falling asleep, and even getting stressed coming to class. I plan to deviate from that. To express my plans onto how I plan to do that is my approach starts with understanding my students. And that all comes with time to learn about their cultural backgrounds, their identities, their strengths, and needs, so I can meet them where they are in my classroom. And that's a foundation to start with. In addition, I want my classroom to be a space where my students can feel safe, seen, and heard. When students feel comfortable expressing themselves, they're more willing to engage and actually even learn. This is the type of connection and respect I want to build with my students. In order to do that, I want to teach real history. When I teach topics like world wars, civil rights movements, or even major laws and impacts, I want to focus on real stories and lived experiences because facts matter, but stories are what make history meaningful. And how do I plan to do that, you ask? Easy. I plan to use media to support my learning, such as PowerPoints to help create structures, images, and primary sources, and videos to make complex ideas easier to understand for my students. This is what makes history feel real instead of distant. Another way to execute this is I also want to use humor to connect with my students and keep the classroom engaging by using stories and connections from my prior knowledge throughout my studies. Learning should feel alive, not forced. Students' voices, on the other hand, are extremely important in my classroom. I encourage open discussions where students can share their perspectives and even learn from each other because not everyone has the same ideology. At the same time, though, I hold students to a high expectations. If they make a claim, they need to support it with evidence. I'll always emphasize don't just say something, prove it. Hence is why primary sources matter. Collaboration is another key part of my classroom, since students will work in smaller groups where they can share ideas, ask questions, and learn from each other's perspectives. This allows them to build confidence in smaller settings before bringing in those whole class discussions. Another important factor to examine is disagreements are natural, and I welcome that. Students won't always agree, and that's okay. What matters is that they learn to respect different perspectives. Literacy plays a major role in my classroom. Students will speak, write, analyze, and present their ideas, being able to give them multiple ways to express themselves. In my classroom, I don't want my kids to just learn history. I want them to feel like they're a part of something bigger, where they can support each other and challenge each other. because that's the kind of environment I want to build, because everything has a history and every student deserves to be a part of that history.